Thank you all for joining us here at I-80 Sports, where today we're talking about the fallout from the Jack Eichel trade, as well as other news and notes around the NHL. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us here at I-80 Sports. Thank you all for joining us here again at I-80 Sports. Make sure that you follow us down below on our website, i80sports.com, for all of our NHL content, as well as our NFL, MLS, NCAA football, and NBA content as well. And while you're there, 'tis the season of giving. Why don't you go and hit up the shop, get yourself a t-shirt as low as $8. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us down below at I80_sportsNHL. And if you're already following us, thank you guys so much because we greatly value your support. Without you guys, can't do this on a weekly basis. I'm Brian. He's Tom. Tom, how are you doing today?
Doing well. And here we are. It finally happened. Jack Eichel was finally moved. The news of what's been the last year is finally put to rest.
Jack Eichel has finally moved. And as you guys can plainly see, I have finally moved. I'm in my new digs, as I alluded to last week. It was the last broadcast from my original room. And, well, now we're in my new battle station. And I told you guys there would be some different faces behind me. And, well, there's a whole cast and crew that you guys can get familiar with back there. But, yep, in a few short days, I will actually be marrying my best friend. And I'm looking forward to that. And this is where we're currently living and all good things. So, yeah. Little things we'll get used to here and there. So Jack Eichel's not the only one on the move in this case. But
Congrats, man. Congrats.
We're here. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very, very much. But we're here to talk hockey. We're not here to talk sappy stuff. So without further ado, it's time to move on to the NHL news, as we always do to start off. So as always, it's time to start with that traffic report.
The I-80 Sports Traffic Report, where you can find all your news and notes from the week.
Talking some NHL news to start, and it was a bit of a busy week in the NHL this week. I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking about the Jack Eichel trade in just a little bit. But to start off with, we had some other news that kind of sprouted up out of nowhere. The Chicago Blackhawks, well, they're still in the news. The Chicago Blackhawks fired their previous head coach, Jeremy Colleton, as well as their assistant coaches, and they have promoted their AHL head coach, Derek King, to be the interim head coach. And a lot of people were thinking at the time, well, maybe this is just a temporary move during the season while they find a new head coach during the season. It was also announced by the Chicago Blackhawks organization that they will not have a search for a head coach during the season. So Derek King is going to be the interim head coach for the remainder of this season, the 2021 and 2022 NHL season. Tom, instant reactions here. What is your thoughts behind this? Is this the right move for Chicago right now?
I mean, I guess it is. They weren't really getting any better. I mean, and they're about as worse as they can be. But as far as not searching for a head coach during the season, I'm not sure about this because I heard John Tortorella's name tied to the Blackhawks job the other day. But then again, it seems like when any coach gets fired lately in a bad situation, John Tortorella's name comes out of the woodwork. Alas, I don't see them hiring a new coach until they hire a new GM. Some names that were rumored for the GM job were Eddie Olczyk, who is a hometown boy, is their analyst, hometown Chicago boy. Although some others said that they were going to bring him in as president of hockey operations and then let him hire a staff. Another name that's near and dear to my heart that I heard was Jeff Gorton. And this might be a perfect job for Jeff Gorton, is Jeff Gorton is no stranger into tearing organizations down to build them back up. Because of some stupid crap last year at the Garden, he wasn't allowed to finish the job in New York. So I'd be curious to see if he does go to Chicago, what he would do. And another guy, and this is way out there, coming out of left field, Kevin Weeks. Apparently Kevin Weeks' name was thrown around in some capacity for a job in Chicago. Probably the GM job. I can't see them making him president of hockey operations, but maybe they would. Don't know. Alas, I do think it's time that they start tearing that team down. But right now, like I said, GM seat, coach's seat, everything is in the interim right now.
Yeah, and just in the immediate here, just to play devil's advocate on this one. So Jeremy Colleton was he was fired about 4 or 5 days ago. Since Colleton has been fired, they have won 2 straight games. I mean, needless to say, that's not much of an improvement. They are currently 3-9-2 on the season. They've got an upcoming matchup against the Arizona Coyotes that will also kind of help get them, maybe going like a lot of people think that they can. They had a big overtime win against Nashville this past Sunday. They also had a pretty big win against Pittsburgh in a shootout on Tuesday night. So Chicago could be on the up and up with this. I mean, it could be, maybe full speed ahead here. Maybe it was the right move, but for me, I don't know. I can't help but feel like this is a move to kind of distract the NHL fans as well as the Chicago Blackhawk fans from the Chicago investigation. I mean, I think it was too early to fire Colleton, especially since he was relatively new to the position to begin with. I think so, but I'd love to hear from Chicago fans on this one and their thoughts. But that being said, we'll just have to see how the team responds to the change behind the bench. And currently they're responding relatively well to Derek King. So just something to monitor over the course of the next, 20 games and just see if this was the right movement. This might be something that we revisit later on for sure. Next on the docket here. So Carey Price, he's back. Not really though, because he has left his rehabilitation center. He put out a long Instagram post about his recovery. And first and foremost, our thoughts go out to Carey Price and his family during this time. He really opened his heart and soul to the NHL fans a few days ago about his recovery and what he was, alluded to what he's been dealing with and why he went into substance treatment. And it's still unknown when he's going to return to Montreal. Tom, your reactions to what you read from Carey Price, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm happy he's out, but like I said, there's still time that he needs to just collect himself and get himself back to the way he was. If he returns at all this year, will it make the Habs any better? Maybe a little bit, but I don't see them. I don't see him coming back and them going on some incomparable run again. I just don't see it if he comes back at all. And that's a big if right now.
It's a big if right now, and I'm happy to hear that his recovery is going positively. He was very candid in his response. He said it's, he might have left treatment right now, but that doesn't mean that his recovery has stopped. It's a daily struggle. It's a daily growth, and it's something that he has to live with for the remainder of his life. And, my message based on that and to echo his message is if you're a person that feels like you are stuck and in a dark place, seek help. Talk to your friends and family. Talk to somebody and talk to a professional about getting the help that you need. There are all different types of agencies out there that are also inexpensive for a lot of people to be able to get that help. But in Carey Price's case, I think this only fuels the fire more on Gary Bettman and the NHLPA, who need to do more to provide assistance to players with substance abuse issues, because this is an issue that is not going away, and it's something that is a very prevalent problem in the NHL right now. And I want to see the NHLPA as well as Gary Bettman do more to address this problem before we have more dead ex-NHL players and dead current NHL players, as we have already seen. Not to get too dark there, but I want to see the response from the higher-ups in the NHL on this, especially with a story like this. Moving right along, before we get into our top headline of the day, we've got some quick hits that we have to talk about first. First, San Jose has reassigned top prospect William Eklund to Sweden. It will delay his entry-level contract one more year, so his entry-level deal will start next season if he does come over to the NHL next year, which it does look highly likely that he does. Next, Tampa Bay Lightning defenseman Mikhail Sergachev. Oh my gosh, I can't even speak today. He's been suspended 2 games for a hit to the head on Mitch Marner from a number of nights ago. If you saw that play, he was already getting tripped up on the play, and then Sergachev came in and head contact all the way through on his hit. So rightfully so, 2 games there for Sergachev. Next, Columbus Blue Jackets forward Patrick Laine is out 4 to 6 weeks with an oblique strain. That definitely is going to hurt Columbus. In the interim at the moment, the Seattle Kraken have revealed their AHL team for next season, which is going to be the Coachella Valley Firebirds. A lot to look forward to there for those that live in the Coachella Valley area. Next, the Florida Panthers handed the Carolina Hurricane their first loss of the season, and Florida has been one of the best teams in the league so far, except they have now lost 2 straight games to Tom's New York Rangers. They lost 4-3 the other night, and then they lost also to my New Jersey Devils. Even worse, 7-3 the other night.
Could have been 5-3. That Panarin goal was BS.
True, it should have been 5-3. Whatever. I mean, then again, I want to see the Rangers actually stand up for their goalie at some point, but that's a story for a different day when we actually talk about our own teams. Speaking of talking about our own teams, New Jersey Devils forward Miles Wood is going to be out indefinitely. It's suspected he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. He has just undergone successful hip surgery. And interesting note here, he will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. 2 other quick hits, one that we are going to just talk about real quick, just to say that we know that this is going on, but we don't have enough information yet to talk about it. Anaheim Ducks general manager Bob Murray has been placed on administrative leave for alleged verbal abuse and toxic behavior. This is going to be a story that we're going to touch upon in more detail next week when we have a little bit more information and do a little bit more research on this particular news story. We want to make sure that we broadcast this particular story the best that we possibly can. So we haven't forgotten about this story. This is certainly a big story in the NHL, but we're leaving it as a quick hit right now because we haven't forgotten about it. We just want to put all of our ducks in a row. And then the last and probably the biggest bit of quick hits right now, the Buffalo Sabres got a team dog, and he's adorable. Seriously, go and find those pictures on Twitter. The dog is adorable. His name is Rick, and it's amazing.
I actually got one more before we move on. Hendrix Lapierre was reassigned today to the Katy Panthers Titan by the Washington Capitals.
Yes, the Washington Capitals did, in fact, reassign Hendrix Lapierre. His cup of coffee in the NHL is done for now. Interesting move there by the Washington Capitals, but probably the right move for right now, just to protect Lapierre and also protect his ELC from starting too early. So not bad. Also, another quick hit that I also want to mention too, now that you mentioned Hendrix Lapierre, another person has been sent down from their cup of coffee too. St. Louis Blues forward Jake Neighbors has been reassigned as well today. He was a kid that was drafted higher as well, and he got his cup of coffee and left, and he has been reassigned as well. So moving right along. But now it's time to get to our top headline of the day. It's time, as always, to pump the brakes.
Not so fast. It's time to pump the brakes.
Finally, Jack Eichel has been traded by the Buffalo Sabres. We have been talking about this and talking about this and talking about this for eons. We even talked with our good friends over at the Frozen 4 podcast about that one. Shout out to those guys and all the work that they're doing as well. Go and check out their podcast, Frozen 4 Pod, on any streaming service as well, because they have been covering this in greater detail as well. It's and the fallout from that. But we're here to give you our tidbit on it here. So here's the fallout. The Vegas Golden Knights have acquired Jack Eichel and a 2023 third-round pick from the Buffalo Sabres for forward Alex Tuch, forward Peyton Krebs, a 2022 first-round pick, and a 2023 second-round pick. So let's just talk our immediate reactions with this. We'll talk in a little bit more detail with this. So a couple questions. Who wins this deal? What impact does this have on each team and players involved right now and for the future? And what's next for each team? So, Tom, address all these questions. The floor is yours.
Sure. Well, Buffalo was pretty high on Peyton Krebs, as we know. And now in a rebuilding organization, he'll finally get the ice time that he needs. I got a feeling even if he's stuck in Vegas, he wasn't going to see a lot of ice time. Vegas seems to very well be a win now and everything now organization. I don't know how much I agree with that sentiment that they have. I'll get to that a little later on. They also got Alex Tuck. He's not going to play right away. As we know, he's injured, but he's a Western New York guy. It's his favorite team growing up. He was super excited to go there. Elliot Friedman was saying, I was listening to an interview with him before, that Alex Tuck has the potential to be the next captain of the Buffalo Sabres. As we know, the Sabres are a rebuilding team. They still need to figure a course of direction, but I think they finally have it now. You know, they're also, everyone's saying how Dylan Cousins is really standing up and saying how happy he is to be there and how much he wants to be a Sabre. There was a lot going on about how Jack Eichel treated a lot of people around the organization terribly as well. And it was so bad that he even said he would come back if they let him get the surgery so they could trade him. They didn't want him even in the room, I heard in this interview. The Sabres management didn't even want him in the locker room around the players. The draft picks they get will hopefully help too. We got some good drafts coming up. Will Buffalo find themselves with Shane Wright? I don't know. Will they find themselves with Connor Bedard? I don't know. You still have a guy like Owen Power at Michigan this year, who you think if Michigan goes all the way this year, will probably be there next year. So I'm thinking Buffalo right now for the future. If you're going on futures only, I think Buffalo did win the trade a little bit. If you go into Vegas's corner now, in their case, excuse me, they have a huge cap problem now once everybody's healthy. They're going to need to get as creative as they can be, because once everybody is back and healthy, and this is Jack Eichel, this is Mark Stone, this is Max Pacioretty, they're going to be $7 million over the cap. You figure all three, they're not going to come back at the same time. I just can't see it. But the real question, and Brian, I know you're going to love this question, is do they pull a Kucherov off? Maybe with Eichel, or maybe with Pacioretty. Do they pull a Nikita Kucherov off and hold one out until the Stanley Cup playoffs where they don't have to worry about things like this? The other thing that they could probably do is they're going to have to move some salary. So they're saying Riley Smith and Brady McNabb are two hot targets that they might want to move so they could get, something back and get them off the book so they can get these three into the lineup. And another factor in my mind here is that Olympic factor. You have not only Jack Eichel, but you have Max Pacioretty, who could very well be Olympic hopefuls, could be shoo-ins for this team. Could the USA Hockey Brain Trust, Bill Guerin, could they push Vegas to say, get these guys healthy, I need them in February. Get these guys healthy, I need them for Beijing. If he's healthy, I think the U.S. is going to need him, but we don't know what's going to happen with this surgery. So I'm going to go on a whim here. I'm going to say Buffalo won the trade. They have a good prospect. They have a good player in Tuck who could probably help lead the team, and they have another draft pick. Vegas, I don't know. I don't know if this makes them all that much better. You're in a division with the best player, two of the best players in the world in Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid up there in Edmonton. You got the Calgary Flames, who are showing a lot of improvement this year. And once the Vancouver Canucks finally get their feet out under them, I know I've sung their praises, but I think once they figure it out, they could be a dangerous team too. Over in the Central Division, obviously Colorado hasn't had that great of a start, but it's only November. You figure Colorado is eventually going to figure it out too. And Colorado, if they see Vegas in the playoffs this year, are going to be out for blood. On top of the two I mentioned above, and Riley Smith and Brady McNabb, you have a core right now, a core of five players, of Jack Eichel, who's 25, and, 25 is still a good age in this league. Mark Stone, who's 29. Max Pacioretty, who's 32. Alex Pietrangelo, who's 31. And Robert Lehner, who's 30. That is not exactly your most useful core right there. And if this team keeps dumping draft picks all the time, it's really going to hurt them in the future. Vegas, we know they're the expansion team. They want to keep interest driven up in Vegas. They want to keep a winner on the ice. But how many draft picks can they trade, and how many big moves can they make before either A, they're out of draft picks so they can't rebuild, B, they're so tied up with cap money they can't bring in younger players to fill out the bottom six and to eventually overtake these guys when they retire. And to tell you the truth, this kind of reminds me of the Dallas Stars in the late 90s when they brought in the guys like Guy Carbonneau and Brett Hull and Craig Ludwig. Wow. Brian Scrudlin, Mike Keane, Eddie Belfour, guys like that. But they only got one cup out of the whole thing, while rivals in Detroit and Colorado got multiple cups. And then afterwards, 3 years after they won that cup, they were in more trouble than they needed to be. If you ask me right now, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to have to win a cup within the next 3 years in order for this to pay off. And I know people laud this hockey club, and I get they want to be relevant, but somewhere down the line, they're going to have to take a good, hard look at what they're doing, because not only are they trading away futures, but at the end of the day, one of these players ages out too much, whether it's Alex Pietrangelo, for argument's sake. And one day they decide Pietrangelo, oh, he's too old. We don't want to pay him anymore. We don't want him on the team anymore. And they trade him away. Or if they trade him Max Pacioretty away one day, oh, he's too old. He's not contributing anymore. It's going to create a toxic culture in Vegas to the point where players may not want to go there either. Oh, so I'm going to go there, and if I don't get anything done in 3 years, I'm not going to have the stability I want, and they're going to move me out somewhere where I may not want to go. So that's just another thing in my mind that Vegas is doing that I don't particularly agree with. But if you ask me, I think for a future standpoint, Buffalo won this trade. In order for this to make sense for Vegas, like I said before, I'm going to reiterate it. They're going to have to win a cup within the next 3 years.
Yeah, my immediate reaction to all of this, and honestly, Tom, I do agree with a lot of what you say there. I agree with a lot of it. It's a great deal for both sides. I think this is making the best out of a bad situation, because there was nothing good on either side of any of this. And Eichel's going to go to a city where he can now get the surgery he desires. Plus, the one thing that's really exciting here for the Vegas Golden Knights is you kind of salivate over the idea of that top line. The Athletic has ranked the potential of this line as a top 5 first line in all of hockey. It would be at left wing, Mark Stone; at center, Jack Eichel; at right wing, Max Pacioretty. On paper, that's a line that's really scary. That's a really good line on paper. But we're not talking about on paper. We're talking about the numbers here.
Remember, they said Gretzky and Hull was going to be a deadly combination in St. Louis, and
it never happened.
And it never worked out. I mean, Mike Keenan's a little bit to blame for that too, but still.
Absolutely. But in hockey, there's a lot more that goes into chemistry. On paper, sure, the line looks awesome. But we got to see how it works out. Now, we could be talking hyperbole here. We could be talking exaggeration. We could be, saying all this is speculative, and then the three of them get on the ice for the first time, and they light up teams left and right. That could happen. It's also possible it's the other way, and we're just like, kind of scratching our head, like, what happened to this line? This should have worked. So we're going to have to monitor and see as the deal evolves, as all the players actually come back healthy, and how they could potentially provide for their team. On the Sabres side, I'm way more intrigued on the Sabres side of things. I would love to, get, just Buffalo fans in general, their reactions. And I've already heard a few from very good sources as well. They're happy about this deal overall. Alex Tuch is going to become a fan favorite in no time flat. He's sidelined until at least January, but he could make an immediate impact in that top 9, maybe even top 6 for the Buffalo Sabres. Put it to you this way. 55 games played last year, pretty much a full season of play last year. 33 points, 18 goals, 15 assists. He did fantastic last year. He had a really good year. If he is playing in the top 6 and pair him up with somebody that can really kind of support his goal scoring, he could be a really, really good piece. Buffalo has also had their eye on Peyton Krebs, as Tom alluded to before. And Krebs, there's a lot of talent there. He's a smaller forward. He's a smaller center at only 5'11". He's been playing on the right side on occasion. And it's still left to be seen if he's going to be a center at the NHL level. His career in the NHL right now is short. It's 13 games total in the NHL right now. He's played 9 games total. And in those 9 games, he has no points and he's a -6. Granted, he was getting roughed up with the Vegas Golden Knights beforehand. Now, going over to Buffalo might not happen as much. We're going to have to see when he actually fully develops. He's only, 20 years old, going on 21 in, fairly soon, actually. In January, he'll be 21. It'll be interesting to see how Peyton Krebs develops. The other big piece to this is a first-round pick in 2022, this upcoming draft. This upcoming draft is a very, very, very deep draft. So adding more picks in a deep draft is always a good thing. Just ask the New Jersey Devils right now, who are reaping the benefit from that, from a deep draft last year, where last year they drafted Alexander Holtz and Dawson Mercer. Both of them are making an impact right now at the NHL level for them, especially in that 7-3 victory over the Florida Panthers the other day. Draft picks help. And in Tom's case, to play devil's advocate on the Vegas side, yeah, it's great to acquire Jack Eichel for a team that's right on the cusp of a Stanley Cup. But they, A, need to make it there, and B, if they don't win a Stanley Cup in the next few years, what's the alternative? Where are your prospects?
And I'm just saying, every panic move they've made has made them worse off. Whether it's firing Gerard Gallant, letting Fleury go. I mean, you name it. Every panic move Vegas has made has not worked out in their favor.
Here's the thing. I don't know if I call it more of a panic move, but more of a let's shake things up a little bit and see what happens. Let's see if this changes the dynamic a little bit. I kind of see the Vegas Golden Knights as, it's kind of fitting that I'm wearing a New York Yankees sweater tonight, because in no time flat, the Vegas Golden Knights are slowly becoming the New York Yankees of the NHL. They're a team that you absolutely love to hate. They're just the evil empire. They're buying everybody. They're literally purchasing every single player, and that's what they're going to do.
But Brian, let me put this in your mind now. You as a Yankee fan, after the Yankees lost to Arizona in 01 and panicked and went and bought everybody, how many world titles did they win?
Only one in 09, and that actually wasn't even a fully bought title.
And then in 04, what was happening? The Boston Red Sox were dancing on their lawn, pretty much.
Don't remind me of that one. I still have scars.
Whereas in the 90s, they had a team that was built like a team. You had your said stars. You had your said role guys. Everybody knew their role. Everybody did their job, and they won 4 World Series in 5 years. And if 94 didn't get canceled, maybe they would have won another one.
And you're not wrong there. And in this case, it's going to be hearsay with the Vegas Golden Knights. And are they going to slowly become the New York Yankees of the NHL in that sense? I think there's a direct parallel in this case. You look at the Vegas Golden Knights up and down and the moves that they have made and the money that they've spent in free agency. There's almost a direct parallel here. Now, in terms of like the money that they're currently out at the moment, I'm currently looking at cap friendly in their case. Yeah, the two people that you mentioned are very hot targets. Riley Smith has been a guy that has been rumored for the past number of months now. Braden McNabb, another person that's been rumored as well. There's one other guy that I'm looking at on their roster currently, and I'm looking at and just thinking, can't they just move this guy for something? Evgeny Dadonov. Evgeny Dadonov is costing them $5 million a year until 2024. I'm not saying that Evgeny Dadonov is not a good player, because I think he is a very talented player, and I think he's a person that can contribute on this Vegas Golden Knights roster. But when you're looking to chop salary, he's a guy that almost comes right off the list to me of like, how have they not tried to move this guy yet? Especially when he's only playing in their top 9 right now. He's not even a top 6 player right now. When everybody's healthy, he is not a top 6 player for them. He's top 9 at best. I think he is a guy that they truly should consider looking to move, even if you don't get much for him. Look to just see what you can get. If you can move his full salary to a team that can take it on, which there are teams out there that can take on these full salaries right now. Arizona is a team that can take this on, especially if they move Phil Kessel sometime soon, which could happen soon. I don't know. That could be a destination, and that could be a very good trade partner of like, we'll just take anything from you for some cap relief. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if something like that happens, so that way they can get under the cap, so that way they can fit. And I literally kid you not, Jack Eichel's $10 million contract, Mark Stone's $9.5 million contract, Max Pacioretty's $7 million contract. Even when Nolan Patrick comes back, his $1.5 million deal. Because even right now, you have trouble fitting that. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. It's going to be something interesting to monitor. Personally, my overall take on this trade, I think both teams win in this case. In Vegas's case, they're that much closer to a Stanley Cup. Jack Eichel is going to be that person that maybe helps them put them over the edge in that case, especially if he's healthy and is playing on all cylinders. We know that a healthy Jack Eichel is one of the best centers in the entire league. And a top-tier center is something that the Vegas Golden Knights have never had. This could be that time where they finally get that. And Jack Eichel can be that if he's healthy. In Buffalo's case, it accelerates that rebuild just a little bit more. It helps their rebuild a little bit more. They compile more pieces. Alex Tuch is a great piece. Peyton Krebs could be a great piece. That 2022 first-round pick, depending on where Vegas ends up and depending on what Buffalo does with that pick, could be a fantastic pickup. So there's a lot to be seen with this. There's a lot of ways that this deal can evolve, and we could be looking back a few years from now and just thinking, wow, this team won, or this team won. Like Vegas really won this deal, or Buffalo really won this deal. But we're not going to know for at least a few years now. But in the immediate, in my reaction, I think both teams win. I think Buffalo wins just a little bit more because now they can finally just be done with the whole entire Jack Eichel era. But that's just our thoughts. That's our opinions. Buffalo fans, I know you guys probably want to sound off down below on something like that. So please let us know what you guys think. We would love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. But it's finally time to put Jack Eichel to rest. And we'll finally talk about it again when he's healthy. Oh my God, we're just going to keep talking about this guy because he's going to be like LeBron James. We're just going to never stop talking about him. If he picks his nose, we're going to talk about it. Anyway, moving right along to our penultimate segment. It's time, as always, to talk about our high performers of the week. It's time for high performance.
Your I-80 Sports High Performance Players of the Week.
We had some players who did some really interesting things this week, some really good things. Tom, let's start with you. Who are your high performers of the week?
Well, I'm not mentioning anybody who plays for any teams in the province of Alberta, so I'm leaving that alone.
Fair point, because we already know how good they're doing because ESPN does nothing but let us know. Yes, we know that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are on pace for 180 points. We know already. Yes, they are very good at hockey. They are generational talents, and they play on the same team. We know. Tom, go on.
I liked what I saw from John Tavares on Saturday against the Bruins. With all the talk about the Leafs lately, whether they're good or whether they're bad, he seems to be somebody who's sort of lost in translation. Everybody wants to blame Matthews. Everybody wants to blame Marner. Everyone wants to blame their D, their bad goaltending. But he's kind of somebody who they forgot about. But he had a nice little night against Boston, 2 goals, 1 assist on Saturday. And he's been playing very well as of late. And speaking of the Bruins, how can I forget? Patrice Bergeron came in with no goals on Thursday night last week against the Detroit Red Wings, and then he walked out with 4. So what a game by Patrice Bergeron. I got to give him that.
Heck yeah. I mean, can we also talk about how batty last Thursday was? So here's just to set the date here. It's Thursday, November 4th, 2021. Not only did Patrice Bergeron score 4 goals, yet another player that scored 4 goals on the same night. Brock Nelson scored 4 goals for the New York Islanders that night as well. Good Lord. 2 players, 4 goals in the same night. Oh, I'm sorry. Did that end there? No, it didn't. You want to know why? Jordan Eberle scored 3 goals, a hat trick for the very first time as a member of the Seattle Kraken, and even more momentous, the very first hat trick in Seattle Kraken history. And it goes to Jordan Eberle. Couldn't go to a better guy in this case. I'm actually kind of happy for Jordan Eberle in this case. He's off to a really good start this season. Pretty happy overall, especially for a Seattle Kraken team that's off to a really, really slow start right now, which is making my prediction from my prediction video that much worse. But hopefully it gets better. We'll see. We might need to ring the panic bell soon on that one, but they're an expansion team. They're not supposed to be that great. Not everybody can be the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, my last one. I'm going to be a homer on this one, and I think rightfully so, because this was a player that I was potentially wrong about as a fan of the New Jersey Devils. This is a guy that I kind of thought in the offseason the Devils should think about moving, maybe think about exposing to the expansion draft, and kind of hoping that Seattle would take him. And now I'm actually really glad that they didn't. Andreas Janssen. Janssen has been one of the Devils' most productive players. He has 9 points in 11 games thus far. He also scored 2 goals in a massive 7-3 win against the Florida Panthers on Tuesday night, a win that Captain Nico Hischier said only proves that this New Jersey Devils team has the potential of beating some very good teams in the league, something that they could not do last year. They did not score 7 goals in any games last year. They didn't even crack 5 goals in a game last year. So, really big impact Andreas Janssen has had so far, and he has helped Devils fans cope with the Jack Hughes and Miles Wood injuries so far on the season. But it makes me that much more curious to see what Andreas Janssen could do when Jack Eichel is actually healthy, because he's been kind of the straw that stirs the drink for the New Jersey Devils. So the Devils are definitely hurting for him to come back sometime soon. But in the meanwhile, Andreas Janssen, he's my player, one of my players of the week, because he's been impressing me lately. He's been very, very good. Now, finally, to wrap this episode up with a nice big Jack Eichel bow, as we should. So the question of the day is simple. When does Jack Eichel suit up for the first time as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights? Tom, what do you think? When are we going to first see him lace up his boots?
Very difficult to tell here with this cap situation. With them being $7 million over, could they hold Pacioretty out longer just because his contract matches that number? Maybe. My hope is February so we can make an Olympic appearance happen, but I even think that's a pipe dream. That's being my fingers crossed, not for the Vegas Golden Knights' sake, for our Olympic team's sake, because they're going to need them. They are going to need them.
Yeah. Team USA is definitely going to need Jack Eichel, but that being said, the surgery that we're talking about for Jack Eichel is going to take some time to recover from. And it's tough to say when he's coming back right now, especially with the cap problems. I think he's personally going to be lucky to suit up for the Winter Olympics coming up in February. My gut says March, which for the Vegas Golden Knights, it would be just in time to get ready for a potential Stanley Cup playoff push. It would be really interesting timing there for the Vegas Golden Knights if that were to happen. I don't expect them anytime before Christmas. I don't expect them anytime shortly after Christmas. So for those Vegas Golden Knights fans that are holding their breath for a Christmas present that is Jack Eichel, you're probably going to suffocate. So maybe exhale at this point. But guys, as always, what do you guys think? Do you disagree? Do you agree with our takes? You got to let us know down below in the comments section. And hey, while you're here on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe for all of our content coming up, because we've got a ton more content coming up, not only on the NHL side, but also on the NFL, MLS, NCAA football, and NBA side as well. Our guys are posting weekly right now, so you got to make sure you show them some love. And where else can you show them some love? Great question. You can hit up our website down below, i80sports.com, where all of our content, meaning our NHL, NFL, MLS, NCAA football, and NBA content are all there. And we're now approaching the holiday season. 'Tis the season of giving. And if you're thinking about giving a nice present this upcoming holiday season, why not hit up our shop? Get yourself a t-shirt as low as $8. And since it's getting colder, we've got our hockey beanies for sale as well. Look fashionable, especially in the tri-state area, somewhere near you. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us down below at i80_sportsNHL. And if you're following us already, thank you guys so much, because we greatly value all of your support. Without you guys, we can't do this on a weekly basis. But we're finally moving away from Jack Eichel here. We're going to be talking some other news next week, so you want to make sure you join us. But for now, I'm Brian. He's been Tom. This has been another episode of NHL on i80 Sports.